Going live yet? Yes, I'm live yet. Um, hey, it says there's 0 people, and I am communicating with someone. So, anyways, first of all, I wanted to thank those of you that have provided support, especially you, uh, Illuminastic Life. Not only just for the recent support, but having started several channels to try to help me combat demonetization, which has been an ongoing problem. Wow, are we really gonna get like no viewers? We had like 2,000 last night, and now we have 0. What's going on, algorithm? This is not the time to be fucking with me like this. So yeah, and also um, a lot of you guys, I don't want to call out name because I didn't ask you, but you know who you are. I've been really surprised. I was expecting maybe a few $20 contributions or something, and we've already raised about a third of what was stolen. And I want to share with you also that when the girl that robbed me posted, or I posted, I made a friend, a Peruvian friend, and blah blah blah. One of my friends, who you guys are gonna meet, sort of via the channel, and when I post the video, she's a local author. She had immediately sent a message saying, "Stay away from these Latina girls or watch your wallet." And the girl ended up robbing me the next day. I didn't see the comments. Isn't that terrible? That is absolutely terrible, isn't it? That's exactly what she said. She said, "Stay away from the Latina and watch your wallet." Um, but that brings me, there's a lot of points I want to make tonight. And this stream is not just going to be all about me, by the way. There's a reason I'm doing this. I'm not just responding to the trolls to defend myself. I don't really care, obviously, what anyone thinks, or I wouldn't say a lot of the stuff that I do on this channel. But I don't like some of the things that people have been saying about Latin people in general. Some of the responses are kind of implying racism, and also that it's far more dangerous here than it really is. And I mean, even though, last night was or yesterday was such a terrible day, just going out into the sun and the colors are so bright and there's people just all joyous everywhere and music all over the place and puppeteers and fucking, and then all the beautiful architecture. It was like impossible almost to stay in a bad mood, you know? So I just hate the fact that some people have taken this situation and tried to run with it and say like, oh yeah, well, what do you expect in Latin America and shit? Shut up, just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not in Lima, I'm not in like some cartel overrun Ecuadorian city. These people are really nice. Most of them are very decent. I like them infinitely more than anyone I've ever met in any other country on average. So I hate that, and it's not true. I mean, you know how many white people I've seen literally kill people? I mean, I just stop it. The United States is not a safe haven. That's a delusion. I hate that. I feel way safer here, even after this, than I ever would in Washington, D.C. or whatever. And a little bit more has come to light. I've realized that girl is probably in Western Union, and I didn't see her. And she literally probably watched me, get all that money. And probably was tracking me. And I didn't tell you guys about another story. I almost got myself killed, I think, trying to defend this little girl from a pimp that I didn't know it was a pimp and a prostitute. I just thought it was some dude manhandling a woman. And after I intervened, he left, and she seemed grateful and asked for my WhatsApp. And then I got a picture of my room in the hostel. This was after I moved the first time, so I had to move again. So that was scary because they were Venezuelan. And, so, I mean, you might take those two stories and say, well, what do you mean it's not dangerous? Well, how many of you are going to try to intervene with some, like, face tattooed, you know what I mean? Like, for normal people that are going to mind their own business, that shit's not going to happen to you. So, no, it's not. It's not like that. It's not like that. I think Cusco is an amazing place. It's safe everywhere. In fact, one of the reasons that I intervened in that situation were cops everywhere. I knew nothing was going to happen. I just couldn't believe none of the cops and none of the other men were doing anything, I stood there for a minute, like, waiting, like, okay, really? This just, nobody's doing anything? All right, well... and part of that is one negative thing I could say about South America, that there is a lot of, you see women get hit sometimes in public and nothing happens. But that's more in the jungle than here. I haven't, with the exception of this other situation, I haven't seen that. I think people are a lot more just chill here. So I guess I already mentioned, we've already managed to accumulate or recoup or whatever, about a little bit more than a third in just one day. So I'm infinitely grateful for that. It's still quite a long ways to go, but I wanted to also let you guys know that I'm trying to do everything I can, and one of the things I can do is offer my year-long service packages. I usually offer a 15% discount if you pay all at once instead of every month, and I'm going to up that to 30 until I run out of time to get this money together. So if you've been considering something like that, then this would be a good time, and you can save yourself 30%. And there's a couple of testimonies on the channel, and that brings us to the trolls, right? Because I've gotten a lot of comments, some of them so bad that while I'm reading it, I'm thinking, okay, you just stay put. You just stay put. I'll be on my way up flipping, pistol gripping, the clip-in. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't imagine being so pathetic and vapid and hollow and stupid that when you see somebody going through something, you're gonna kick them while they're down, even if it's just on the internet, And I think also knowing that those type of people would not say that if I was in person, you know what I mean? There's no way in hell. So, but at the same time, I also recognize that those people represent a part of our psyche, right? They're part of the collective mind. And so everyone's thinking this stuff to some extent. You know what I mean? So one of my issues over the years, I think, is that I hate society, by and large, a lot. And I hate participating in it. And I don't really hate the idea of fairly making money. I'm not really anti-capitalist, but I think there's part of me that's been really reticent to really fully try to monetize myself. It seems wrong somehow. I think I mentioned in a recent stream that I realized that because my mother was poor, she kind of would always talk about how awful people that cared about money were. And it just hit me a year ago maybe that I had been programmed to think that there's something wrong with you if you care about money at all. So that's a huge issue on the one hand. But on the other hand, okay, so let's go through these in order. I've got 2 or 3 of them that are okay, so you only had $1,400, you're 45 years old or whatever, and you don't have any savings or anything? No, because 5 years ago, after I spent 8 years building up a small fortune and started a business and paid for the roofs and food over the heads of these people, I was robbed blind by my partners while I was out of the country. So, lost everything, came down here, started 4 businesses, COVID came, lost those. So, you know what, shit happens, shut the fuck up. And no, it's not all I have, but my other resource is not liquid, and there's nothing I can do about that. It could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, it could be 6 months, probably won't be more than a year. But no, it's not all I have, but it's just not liquid. If you have any ideas how I can turn a house into money in one single day, then, please fill me in. But no, it's not all I have. It's just all I have access to at the moment because of a long series of fucking unfortunate events. And so what did I do? I started a YouTube channel that preserves ancient knowledge. I teach people how to spot and reprogram their indoctrination and how to spot propaganda in one of the most toxic cultural environments, probably the most toxic cultural environment in the history of the world. And I, when I did the events in those indigenous neighborhoods, they got 50%, period. And then also we paid the cleaners and the cooks and everyone 3 times the wage they're used to. So we barely made any money, and I'm not trying to brag. I'm just trying to say when people are criticizing me like that, and I'm like, dude, I literally haven't cried in 30 years. And I almost broke down in tears 15 minutes ago because I had to walk by a guy with no legs who was singing his heart out, and I couldn't pay him because I got robbed. And I only had 100 soles bill. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to hear it. It's just really, when I think about all the positive impact I've paid, and then I get paid $600 a month, to provide all this really valuable information. A lot of it I'm well aware, and you guys also tell me constantly it's not anywhere on the internet. So I think that if you consider the fact that there are influencers that are complete idiots, that are doing nothing but shitting down the throats and into the minds of our culture and our society, and they're getting paid millions of dollars to do it because they have bigger boobs than me or whatever. I don't think that this tracks that I get paid $500 or $600 a month. So, you know what I mean? If there's missing value, I don't see why I shouldn't be hey, community, I just got robbed. I didn't even ask for money in that stream either. I don't know if you guys noticed that. All I said was what I say at the end of every stream. You know, PayPal, Zelle, whatever, support us, we're demonetized. And by the way, for you naysayers about demonetization causing deprioritization, right? Somebody re-uploaded one of my shorts on a channel that has 57 subs. I have over 11,000. She got 30,000 views almost immediately. I got like 150 or something. So tell me, if the algorithm is just an equation that isn't biased against people, that maybe, I don't know, tell people to think for themselves and to abandon all of the narratives that the propaganda machine is spewing, you really don't think maybe they would deprioritize people like that they can't even run ads on? I mean, 30,000 views almost right away. So I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm tired of it. You know, telling me that it's got nothing to do with shadow bands. There's only a couple of you. Most of you guys are smarter than that. But, you know, give me a fucking break at this point. So, you know, that's my rant in defense of myself. You know, I feel like I walk my walk. I have made a lot of sacrifice to try to genuinely do good in the world. So when I get these trolls kicking me when I'm down, like, you know, usually I'm kind of used to it, so it's not like, but for some reason this time it actually did get under my skin a little bit. Like, how many lives have you changed, you know? Like, who the fuck are you? Like, you know? Yeah, I should do that. It's on Illuminostic Life's channel. But come on, 30,000 on a channel with 57, that proves the algorithm is not just an equation. You know what I mean? Or it's all just based on equations. Obviously that's not true. No way around it after that one. So yeah, I mean, honestly, in response to those trolls, I felt like, you know, I help people all the time for almost nothing. So rather than feeling like I shouldn't ask for help, you know, let's do it, you guys. Fucking share these videos and help me raise this $1,400 again, because I didn't tell you guys the whole story. You know, it probably sounds sloppier than it really was, because I was supposed to drop my guitar off. It was going to be there for 6 hours. I was only going to have the money till morning. I was staying in the hotel room, right? And then I go to the embassy, I pay the fines, I go see the lawyer, pay them, and then I leave. Then the guitar says it has to stay for another day. And the embassy says, no, you have to go to Lima. Lima is a 30-hour bus ride, or at least it's not supposed to be, it's like 20, but usually there's a mudslide or something, you know? So it was 33 hours last time. I don't have 33 hours, so I'd have to take a plane. But a plane the next day costs whatever amount of money. So there's the possibility of sending it by mail. And if I don't have to fly and I don't have to go 40 hours, 30 hours on, no, 60 hours back and forth on a bus, you know? So all of a sudden I'm like, I'm not able to do what I was meant to do here, and I'm stuck longer. So just, you know, for those other trolls that were saying like, what the hell are you even thinking anyways? That's not how it's supposed to go. I thought I was coming here, taking care of shit, and then leaving immediately. So why even dignify it with a response? Well, I already said that, because I know that these trolls are just like the unfiltered part of everyone's psyche. And I can kind of understand that, you know, because to some people, it's not like everyone knows my whole story. It's not like everyone's seen all my videos, you know? So I can imagine people thinking this guy's just running amok, not giving a fuck, and gets himself into trouble. It's like, well, if you weren't living a freestyle fucking vacation life, then maybe you'd be, you know, that kind of, I can see that, except it's not true. You know, I work a lot of times 12, 14 hours a day, barely get up. That's part of the reason that my partner and I split. All I do is work, you know? And granted, I'm lucky to be able to do what I love and usually make it okay, you know? But I'm just, you know, I feel like the people that are thinking that and aren't assholes should know that, you know, that it's not really realistic. And that, you know, it is true that part of what I do is bring money into indigenous communities and help a lot of people. So, and considering the value in the channel, I don't feel like I really, you know, $600 a month is extremely generous, considering how few patrons I have relative to the number of years I've been on YouTube, and, you know, how small my channel is. It's a pretty small group, and there's a lot of very generous people in this community, and a lot of really committed people, and also a lot of people that have been there for years and years and years and years and years. And so the thing is, the algorithm should notice that, right? If I have the same people for like 6 years and no one stops watching, shouldn't your views pick up instead of drop the more subscribers you get? I mean, I'm just confused about all that. All of you like conspiracy theory naysayers out there, like, what the fuck are you talking about? So, I just, you know, I mean, just felt like I should say something before I, you know, lose it and come up there tripping, flipping, pistol gripping, load the clip in, let one slip in. It's one of these crazy, crazy fools. Neil Dennis, yep, well, thank you, man. You have been a tremendous support, both emotionally, psychologically, and financially. And that reminded me of something else that, yeah, I mean, you know, it's probably didn't help that I was so sleep deprived and, you know, kind of depressed. I mean, I don't even know if I should tell you guys this, but just to put some perspective on like the flip that I've done over the last couple of weeks, because I am pretty proud of myself, honestly. I mean, I almost died, but after that, I'm pretty proud of how I dealt with it. But so I told you guys in one of the streams that, like, I don't know, after we had been apart for like 4 or 5 days, and it really hit me. Plus, I think the fact that she was already with someone else was just so disgusting and like unbelievable and hurtful that I lost it. And I went out on a bender, got super drunk, and took about 40 flowers off of a Brumansia plant and went home and cooked it up and drank it. And I should have been dead 4 times over, if not 10. But almost nothing happened. Even with all the alcohol in my system, I think I didn't cook it long enough, or maybe the universe was just like, no, 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 bro. Well, I shouldn't say nothing happened. I was walking between worlds that night. I didn't know if I was awake or asleep. I talked about it on the stream. I just didn't mention the part about how it was like 4x at least a fatal dose. And that's why, you know, when some of you guys were like, have you been drinking? I'm like, nope, never again. That was the end of that, you know, because I realized like, that was a close call, you know. That was a really close call, and I didn't do it on purpose, really. I had an empty stomach, and I went to this chicha bar, and they told me there was no alcohol in it, but they meant they didn't add alcohol, so I ended up almost blackout drunk in a tremendous depression, and yeah, could have been the end of me. But after that night, I mean, you guys have watched this, you know, look at me. I'm like trimmer than I've been exercising, you know, dressing better. Just general attitude, you know, buying all of the AI apps I need to try to blow up my channel and improve my content and everything. Like, I really just, I guess that's what they say, you bounce off a rock bottom and turn everything around. So I had been doing that, you know. A lot of you guys are aware of it, I'm sure. Like, my last music stream was one of the best that I've done, even though my guitar was like broken in my lap. You know, my uncle just died a couple days ago too, my favorite uncle. But I think there were moments where I was singing better than I ever have in my entire life, like a whole tier above, you know. I guess that's what happens when you get your heart broken, and then your uncle dies, and your friend kills himself, and your other friend kills himself, all in the space of like a week, you know. It's been crazy, man. So I guess I could have had more presence of mind and realized, like, dude, you're carrying just too much crap right now. You can't just, you know, put yourself in any kind of situation. I don't know. Didn't think I did, you guys, I guess. Why work to make your life better when you just blame the demiurge? Dude, get this idiot out of my chat, man. I don't believe in the demiurge. Like, why do people just come and say stupid shit just to try to make themselves look cool? I mean, what the fuck even is that? Like, I'm literally like making jokes about like shooting trolls, and dude, it's like, really? You want to test me under these circumstances, bro? Like, you know? I see what you mean about not dignifying these guys with a response, you know, but I wasn't dignifying them really, you know? Just trying to make the point that, like, I think they're completely in the wrong to come after me in the way they have. And then also, I guess, you know, did I already talk about just Latin America and some of the stuff that people have said? Like, you know, the reality is, the reason I'm not mad at this girl is because our culture, the Europeans and Americans, have been standing on the backs of these people and then looking down at them because we're exploiting them to get rich and making them stay poor, and even like massacring them when they don't work and stuff, and then looking down on them while we stand on our pile of like blood and bones on high, right? Like, so I'm not with that. Like, I get it. you know, we are the ones that refused to be equitable, and people are in a tremendous amount of denial about that. People in the United States, I think. Oh, did I not put all of my, I didn't put all of my, here you guys. In fact, while I'm like shamelessly advertising basically, because that's kind of what I thought, what, in response to these trolls, I am going to start like actually taking marketing seriously and like really trying to monetize myself. I used to try to charge the least that I could for everything I did just to try to be cool, and now I realize I provide high quality services, and that's fucking stupid. So why can't I write in my own chat? Is this for real? Really? No doubt it's a money. I don't know what that means. I can't write in my own chat. How is that possible? What is it for then? I just have to like, can somebody else put my PayPal, Zelle, and Cash App in the chat so that it's available? I didn't put it in the description or anything. And obviously I could use support. I'm bound and determined to make this money up before this deadline, because the consequences of not doing that could be really, really, really seriously bad. I mean, this is not funny. Yeah, because the way that it works, if we can get everything properly filed before our time here is up, then we're not legal or illegal until we either get accepted or rejected. And then if we get rejected, we have to pay the fine and have flights out of here. Otherwise, we'll just get deported, and we won't have the money to fly out, so they'll kick us out in Bolivia or something. And I don't even know if we'll be able to go home and get our stuff. So I can't let that happen. And I didn't think there was going to be any problem getting this stuff filed, and I can have a digital nomad visa for a year, and then I can employ one person, which means my partner. And then I can, while we're doing that, we're waiting to, a friend is going to buy land. And if I don't have my money yet, he's going to put it in a trust so that I can own part of it, but not be able to sell it to protect himself. Not like he doesn't trust me, but it's just, it's just how you got to be, I guess. So there's a plan totally laid out, and there shouldn't have been any problems. So. That one girl, I can't believe I can't write in my chat. Illuminastic Life, will you please do this? Put the, oh, you probably don't know how to spell it all, huh? BLUECKERS@gmail.com is my PayPal and Zelle. And then money sign Illuminastic is Cash App. So if somebody can just type that in the chat, because I forgot to copy and paste it. I don't think I can navigate away. Put it in the chat. I don't believe this. It doesn't make it. No, I cannot. I'm telling you, dude, I cannot. I'm not in a laptop. I'm on a phone. I cannot type in my own chat for some reason. I just have trouble believing that. Why isn't she doing it, dude? I know she's there. Poor Harley. No, man, I don't really feel like that, I mean, I get everything figured out, but I guess when I really go out of my way to try to like do things the right way, and people come after me like that, it occasionally it does actually piss me off, and this time it actually pissed me off a little bit. I can start a poll. That's the only way I can. Hold on. What's the other thing? Oh, yeah. And by the way, if you guys have any questions about anything, we don't have to just talk about this all night. I have my phone plugged in. It's not going to die, so I have time. I feel like I saw a bunch of really cool shit today I was going to tell you guys about, too, but I don't. I can't find the $sign thingy. I'm so technologically inept for like a modern human being, dude. This is so insane that I can't find the $sign. Oh, okay. When life looks like easy street, there is danger at your door. Okay, so that email is for PayPal and Zelle, and then it's supposed to have my Cash App. I don't know why it didn't put it. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So also, you know, to join the Patreon, you get access to infinitely valuable information, Masonic secrets and whatnot. Yeah, and you know, just like, again, the whole thing about people making comments about how it's dangerous here and, you know, cracking on Latin people and stuff. I hate that telling the story has contributed to that, because it's complete bullshit. It really is. You know, there are criminals in every city. I mean, it's not like that at all. These people are way less complicated, way more sweet than people in the United States. I mean, they don't like us for good reasons, you know. I mean, people don't realize it, you know. If you haven't ever left the States, especially, you just don't realize that you're living in a nut house. You're living in a dangerous nut house. And that they, in order to keep Americans from like realizing that they're almost in prison, they repeat after me, you are free. Repeat after me, you are free. Repeat after me, you are free, you know. And you're better than everyone else. And you're better than everyone else. And you're better than everyone, you know. That's the narrative there. It really is. You know it is. We're the greatest. No, you're just racist. It's true, you know. You're not the greatest. You're just racist. Not all of you, but too many of you. And a lot of people don't even realize it, you know. A lot of white liberals are actually pretty racist, and they just don't think they are, you know. Or they just don't talk about it around their friends until you're in private with them, and they feel like maybe they can say it to you, and then you find out how much of a shell game. Almost everyone is just full of shit virtue signaling in the United States. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the outrageous amount of support, really, that I get from such a relatively small audience here. And the luthier finally responded. That was terrifying me. And look, after I told all the Americans the truth about themselves, half of the people on the stream dropped off all at once, you know? That's why they say that he who tells the truth has few friends. I don't care. I'm here to tell the truth, you know? That's why I'm not afraid to ask people to pay me. You know, like how many people are out there telling the truth, regardless of what it's going to cost them and the alienation and stuff, you know. I try not to be cocky, but I do recognize what I'm doing, or I wouldn't be here, you know. I mean, and the thing is, if like in this world where we have, you know, influencers that are just like selling farts from bathtub water and like, you know, I saw a guy on a video game stream get $1 million tip once, you know. Just seems to me that like if those guys have the value to make millions of dollars, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to make a reasonable amount of money for actually trying to make a difference in the world and do good things, you know. So don't feel entitled, but I do feel justified, I guess, is the point. It didn't show up. So there's still another troll. Thank you for deleting that, Illuminostic Life. I didn't see it. But apparently, it did not allow your comment to get posted, I don't think, Flezic. So he pulled over and tried to put my support addresses in the chat, and then YouTube deleted them. That is just incredible. Yep, that's what it appears to happen. Wow, man. By the way, you guys, that's not really a poll. I don't know who's voting on it, but it's not a poll. It's covering my chat now and I can't get rid of it. God. So now I can't read the chat because my stupid poll is covering it. I hope I'm not getting on the girl behind the desk's nerves rambling over here, but I'm going to continue to do it because otherwise I'm just sitting around in the hotel room. Oh, did I say that the luthier finally answered me? All day he didn't answer me. I remember what I was saying, that I thought he fucked the guitar up maybe? I was like, oh great. So now I've been robbed and my guitar is going to be messed up. So it's like everything is gone. But then he finally answered and he was like, sorry, I was partying all day. I'm like, great excuse, dude. But either way, I'll see you in the morning, right? He's like, yeah. So at least if I go over there and pick up my guitar and it is like playing like butter, that'll help a lot, but not enough, you know? The thing is, like, until I can fix what has just happened, the guitar is gonna be, that's not like I'm really gonna be able to get into it, you know? Until the nerves are a little bit pacified. It's true too that, you know, a few times I've made like many thousands of dollars off of like 50 bucks on like shit coins. So maybe I can fix this that way, but it's not as sketchy as a casino, but it's definitely still sketchy. The only other thing I could think of is if I got really lucky and there was a good AI token launch, those are all gonna just explode instantly. So it's just a matter of timing, you know? You gotta get them like right at launch. So if I could catch a break so I could just buy one of them once, you know? Wait, who's reporting the poll? People reporting the poll? Well, what just happened? The guy just asked me, when was the last time you kissed a guy? Let me think. Probably 2013. I didn't mean to, really. I was really drunk and I was walking by my friend Kyle Madrigal. Great guy, really eccentric. I think his family's probably really wealthy. Northern California, you know, so he doesn't have to grow pot. So he's just, you know, the people that are out there that aren't corrupted by the outlaw pot industry are just really interesting and intelligent and shit. Well, except for the inbred descendants of the loggers and stuff. They're awful, absolutely awful. That's what I was saying earlier about how I've never really been completely happy anywhere. You know, I don't mean me inside, I mean with the place that I'm in. Well, Durango, Colorado, actually, I was pretty content with that place. I don't know why. I shouldn't have ever have left, honestly, but the people in Northern California were really too much of a mixed bag. A little bit too murdery, you know? Our trimmers one year cut the neighbor's head off and then showed up at the property with a bunch of blood-soaked clothes, asking us to burn them for them. And the kid that killed the guy, they were trained kids, and the kid that killed the neighbor, because we were like, no, man, get the fuck out of here. Like, leave right now. We're not burning your clothes, you idiot. Like, no. And I mean, they all got caught, so it doesn't matter that I'm saying this now. See, look, we lost all the audience when, you know, we were just getting into such an interesting story. But so he reached into his clothes because he had like blood-soaked clothes on still, and took his shirt off and put it in the cooler, and then he got in the bag. And he wasn't even looking, he just pulled out a shirt and put it on. The kid's name was Kane, his birth name was Kane, first of all. And he puts the shirt on and it says Killer. It's a white shirt and in black it says Killer. And he saw my face and my drummer, and he looked down and he's like, oh my God, and he pulled the shirt off. Talk about a synchronicity, right? So, you know, I got tired of that. There's just, everyone was too dangerous all the time, you know. Our neighbor Mountain Man was like super helpful and stuff, but I just knew that it wouldn't take much, you know, to have an accident with him. So it just, you know, like it was beautiful, and you know, the redwoods and the mushroom hunting. It was so easy to get into like a otherworldly, almost sort of trance just by like walking around in the forest there. But you never knew when some tweaker was gonna, you know, a group of tweakers was gonna rape your girlfriend and kill you both or something. You know, I mean, it was pretty dangerous. That's why, you know, when people were saying, "Oh yeah, well Latin America is super dangerous," like, dude, no, this to me, this is fucking, this is like a preschool or something. You know, I'm definitely not scared here compared to like Northern California. That was terrifying. I mean, I was pretty good at ignoring it, but I think once I left and I'm like, I'm only 38 and I'm all gray. Probably has something to do with the fact that I never knew whether I was going to live through the day or end up in prison every single day of your life, you know. It was wild in all the wrong ways, sort of. Oh, but I didn't tell the story about kissing the guy, I guess. I don't know what I said to him. I was walking by, and like I said something about it, but I was joking. But he just grabbed me and stuck his tongue in my mouth. And I just went with it because there was a lot of people watching, and like it was a hugely popular place because all the trimmers from all over the world. It was amazing, man. It's a place called Shawnee Pub in Willits in Mendocino County. So the outdoor, the outside, and in the alley and everything would just be spilling over with trimmers from like Africa and South America, and like there would literally be tribal people. There would be tribal people with gourds and shit from Africa, and I would be there with like my Mesa Boogie, like high gain boutique amp and electric guitar, and like a drummer with maybe death metal and jazz background, and you know, professional level saxophone players, and just the combination of, oh, and then we might have like a Brazilian jazz singer fronting, or folk singer. She died actually of a heroin overdose in Brazil a couple of years ago. Really sad. I mean, she wasn't entirely cool, really, now that I think about it, but she was talented. She was dangerous as hell. Danny, her name was Danny. I had no idea either. I noticed she was kind of crazy, but I didn't realize that meant like high-level drug dealer chick, like crazy, you know. That's another thing I've noticed. It's really sad, man. A lot of the Venezuelan girls that you meet down here, their life has been so hard that they're just crazy. They're just insane. Like, they've seen so much shit that they're literally insane. You know, like they're not schizophrenic or anything, but like their jaw will move around kind of weird when they're thinking and stuff. Like you can see like this girl that I was talking to the other day, she would flash between like young and cute and sweet and giggle at stuff, and then all of a sudden you would see this like trauma, like fucking messed up, man. But I think that's what was up with Danny too. She was a little bit too deep in the game. Probably since birth, you know. Just missed the poll. Oh, the crypto address. But why should I just miss the poll? I mean, there's only 13 of us now. I mean, I was planning on streaming for a long time tonight, but if I can't hold an audience, I guess. Oh man, my eyes are too, I don't want to look at my own eyes when they're all black like that. That's why I keep putting my sunglasses on. The world is just too damn crazy, man. That's the facts. That's the real facts. It's too crazy. It just needs to simmer the fuck down out there before more people get hurt, you know? I mean, there you go. Thanks, buddy. Or no, that's my poll, I guess. Love you too, man. Hope you can still make it down here. By the way, that's another thing, you know, if you're going to come for the middle of May, we're definitely setting it up. I mean, going forward one way or another, I'm not leaving this country no matter what. If they kick me out, I'll crawl back in with a buck knife and some fucking tripwire to feed myself, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going anywhere, so, I mean, I'm sure I can get it straightened out. But it'll be a hell of a lot easier on my, you know, I'm not supposed to go through stuff like this right now. I'm operating on 3/4 of my heart, you know? I'm not supposed to have big stress. It's not, I'm too old for that shit, and also I have heart damage from Chagas disease in the jungle, so it would be much better to fix this in a short amount of time so that, you know, I'm doing all right today, but if we get any closer to that deadline and it's still looking out of sight, I'm gonna start to really probably have some serious concern. I mean, I do now, but it's manageable. 48 hours from now, if I haven't hit the mark, I don't know if it'll be manageable anymore. I don't know what that'll mean, but, you know, sitting in the corner twitching or something, I don't know. I don't know how to have a proper panic attack. It's a funny thing, you know, when you have a family, crisis is different. When I was younger, it was just like, whatever, you know, I'll just, you know, I could do anything too, because I wasn't, you know, my only boundaries were that you don't hurt innocent people. That's it. And so when you're in a place like California and that's your only rule, you're never worried about anything. So this is different now, you know. Now that I have a family, I notice that anxiety is a completely different animal. You know, I've never been so worried that I couldn't breathe before in my life. Not even with a gun in my mouth. Like, I literally had a gun in my mouth with the trigger pulled, and I wasn't even scared, really. You know? I don't know if I've told you guys, I'm sure I told you on the Outlaw stories, but there was this guy George, I was 17 years old, just way back in DC when I was a kid, and Cobalt, there was a few of us that were kind of like the big dogs, and it was me, George, and this gay lawyer that had AIDS. The name doesn't matter, I guess. He was scary as hell, though. He was scarier than the rest of us, the gay dude. You know, if you crossed him, man, he was dying of AIDS anyways. Like, he was, you know, back then it was definitely terminal. He didn't care, man. You messed with him, your ass was fertilizer in the fields down in Virginia, and he would remind you of that fact at every opportunity, and he was not joking. But George crossed his right-hand man, a guy named Sugar Bear, and Sugar Bear got mad and came to me, and he knew that I had Malik and that crew behind me, and that they hated him. I hated him because he was an idiot. His dad ran a Jamaican cartel, so he got everything super cheap and then charged top dollar, and he was just awful. Claimed to be straight, but he would like try to make young gay kids have sex with him at gunpoint and stuff. He was terrible. So Sugar Bear came to me and he's like, hey, I know where all his money and yayo and everything is. And I was like, all right, let me call Malik and see what he wants to do. So I called Malik up, and I'm not going to tell the whole story again. If you want to see it, I think it's in my first or second Outlaw Tales thing. But then as a consequence of that, because we got caught, Sugar Bear was found at the bottom of a lake in Virginia in his car with a single bullet between his eyes for betraying George over his like lost ID or something stupid like that. And I was walking down the street, and remember his dad was running this Jamaican cartel, and a Lexus pulled up on the curb in front of me, so I couldn't walk out, and Dreadlock got out of the car with, I can't remember what it's called, like a Tech 9, or it's like a small automatic weapon with two handles, a clip, and he stuck it in my mouth, pulled the trigger, and it was all, because it was empty, just kind of clacked a couple times. And he's like, next time it's one before the man. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I won't mess with George anymore. But the thing is, before you think I'm, you know, that gangster, just know I knew the rules, and I knew I could get away with it, because the way they do things is if, you know, somebody owes somebody a bunch of money and you kill them, you transfer that debt to yourself. And George did not want to take that chance that he's going to have problems with Malik's crew, because they were way badder than him and his little, you know, crew of like gay misfits or whatever. So that was the thing. Like, I knew I could pretty much get away with anything. And by the way, for those of you that are new to the channel, this is 30 years ago. I'm not that guy anymore. And I wasn't really that bad anyways. I just happened to be backed by a bunch of multi-millionaire gangsters through a stroke of, is that luck? Or just, I don't know what. It's gonna make for a good book, I guess. What's the best Steely Dan song? It's funny, I think they're from Virginia, where I'm from. And they had that song about being in school in Annandale. It was terrible. Best Steely Dan song. I don't really know them that well, man. I do know, I can hear it and I can play the guitar solo, but I don't know the name of the song. Maybe it's Kid Charlemagne or something. I don't know. Honestly, man, all that boomer music, like, it's not that it isn't good, but like, there's something about boomers that they tend to listen to the same, like, 5 songs by 5 different bands. So it's like the same music in constant rotation all the time. And I grew up with that. So like literally by the time I was 15, I wanted to just like blow a hole in any speaker playing classic rock anywhere. I mean, it's taken me until recently that I could even listen to Led Zeppelin because, well, no, I could always listen to like the Battle of Evermore and like, you know, songs like that. But the like cock rock stuff, like, still don't really care for it. I look like an old Hollywood villain. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to May, man. It's going to be a great event for sure. There's some really solid shamans here for the San Pedro thing. I don't think there's going to be an indigenous ayahuasca representative unless I can get somebody from Pucallpa or Iquitos to come all the way out here for a reasonable price, because what I'm noticing is that they're just kind of adopting it because it's not a traditional thing. And I feel like if you're gonna have an indigenous person there to represent indigenous people, they should be working with plants they actually know how to work with, you know? And I think they kind of, I mean, that was the one thing, even Juanita, who I would not hesitate to send anyone to. And it, you know, it would be worth more than you would, you know, pay at Rhythmia or something for a fraction of the price. But she did offer San Pedro and stuff, which is not a jungle medicine. So, you know, I think they're just kind of like doing everything they can to try to cover all their bases, you know. I don't blame them for that, but it's just the thing of like, you know, if you're gonna have the traditional people, they should be doing the traditional stuff. Otherwise, you might as well just have a white shaman that knows what he's doing and not bother, because it's traditional or not, you know. Sick hat, thank you. Well, dude, I'm not wearing the shades. It's because I have had so little sleep. I just don't want to be looking at the bags under my eyes, you know. It's bright in here too. Look at, I mean, look. You guys want that in your eyes? I didn't think so. Me neither. So, once again, you guys, now that we have a larger audience, part of the point of this stream tonight is that I am trying to recoup from a robbery that was absolutely essential money for me and my entire family. And I wasn't, the last stream I didn't ask for money because I didn't want to ask for money, but then all these trolls started making fun of me, and then I'm like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go on the internet and just ask for money, because I contribute a tremendous amount of value to the world, and I make less than $1,000 a month for it. So, I mean, seems fair that, I don't know, like, you know, so that's kind of the gist of this whole mess here. Where am I from? I was born in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and upon the Blue Ridge Mountains, there I'll take my stand. Rifle on my shoulder, 6-shooter in my hands. I've been all around this world. And then I went to Colorado for 10 years because you know, you got to go up in the mountains when you need to get some thinking done. That's why I came up out of the jungle. In the jungle, you get your emotions and your traumas and stuff worked out, and then you go up into the, because you got to do it in the right order. You know what I mean? Physical stuff first, emotional, and then intellectual, cerebral, you know, head shit. So that's what I've done. But things happen in cycles, right? So started out in Virginia by the coast where it was wet and soggy and hot. And then I went up into the mountains in the Rockies and got some thinking done, and then went back down to California to the pretty much deciduous rainforest on the West Coast. And then I went to the jungles of Ecuador for, I say 6 years, but actually not. I think it was 2 years in the Andes and then 4 in the jungle, maybe 5. I don't count, I don't care. And then I went to the jungles of Peru, and now I'm in the mountains of Peru. So I don't know what you're talking Nepali. I don't get it. Oh yeah, you are Ecuadorian. I always forget about that. What am I talking about? What's the topic of this? Uh, I mean, the main topic of it is that I got robbed the other night with crucial funds that were intended to secure my family and I's immigration status, pay my rent and groceries, because I'm all cash. I needed all the money at once, and I thought I was going to get it into the places it was supposed to be that day, and that didn't happen, and it just turned out that I probably got followed for a couple of days by someone that saw me withdraw it. That's what I'm assuming. And she waited until I gave her an opportunity, you know. And I honestly, I posted something she told me. I posted on Facebook. I made a Peruvian friend today, and I asked her if it's true that they really hate gringos, and without hesitation, she was like, "See." But I should have known that she meant, "Yeah, I do." So basically, I had to go in and get a coat. And I thought, you know, no big deal, I'm there, you know, and the money was hidden a little bit. I mean, obviously not enough, but it was behind a box on the shelf or next to, and I thought it was out of sight. I guess it wasn't. And I only turned my back to her long enough to pee, and somehow that was long enough for her to access the wallet and take most of the money. Luckily, she left a little bit, because I can't get more until Monday. So if she'd taken it all, man, I'd literally be on the street right now because Western Union's closed and that's the only way I can get cash. Lana, that wouldn't happen fast enough. I'm not kidding when I say I have like 4 days. So that would be, you know, the one thing I probably will do, I definitely will do it, is when that does happen and I can liquidate it, I'll go through my PayPal, and everyone that has helped, I'll send them double back. So, I don't, you know, that's no problem. It's just I can't do it in 4 days. You know, there's no way. There's no way. I don't even know what's going on because my stepfather is also involved, and the lawyer just doesn't really care or something, and it takes forever to get any answers from her. Like, I've been trying to get my birth certificate back from her for like 6 months. I mean, she just doesn't care, you know. I think she's already been paid or something. I don't know. But she'll eventually answer. But I don't know exactly where we're at in the process. So that's another problem. You know, it should be just about it's wrapped up. I know that. Like, we're ready for market. But it's not going to happen in the next 4 days. That's just not possible. So. It is true, though. I mean, I guess, you know, unless you guys know me, you don't have any reason to believe it, but it's true. I'll go through my PayPal when I finally get that settled and send everybody back double whatever they sent. You can't do it through Patreon. If you want to sign up for a year of, you know, occult or guitar lessons or flow state lifestyle, my corny ass name for it, but I just don't know what else to call it, you know. It's definitely, you know, you go watch Matthew's video, and then also I think on my Facebook for Jungle Gnosis, there's a lot of reviews too. I mean, people tell me that I'm the only person that's been able to help them after like multiple psychologists and therapists over the course of their entire life. So, you know, based on that feedback, it's probably not a waste of your money. It's just a very unorthodox approach to things compared to the standard protocol that's employed by that type of person. You know, honestly, what I've been told these psychologists do, it doesn't even sound like, it's like, why would this help anyone, you know? And then I realized that it's industrialized. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to keep you. They're trying to make you feel like it's probably designed, you know, even if subconsciously, to sort of like you feel like maybe it's doing something for you, but then they don't want you to ever leave, really, because then their income is gone. So, who's the man standing behind me? Yeah, she knows, man. You know, I mean, she's had experiences with me, and you guys have seen her in almost every single stream and there for years, you know, and that's probably got a lot to do with why. It was just one experience. So, and I appreciate that tremendously. I know how many influences there are on the internet or whatever you want to call it. And it really surprises me when somebody, especially, you know, a younger girl like that is following me for years, because there's just so many people out there, and, you know, young girls are fickle. So So, I mean, all jokes aside, it really is meaningful to see people in here for years and years. Ryan DeLion's been here for years and years and years, too. Oh, so anyways, the Patreon, you can send me a message, because even though I'm eligible for the year-long discount thing that they do, I've emailed them, like, why don't you guys have it on my site? And they just don't answer me. Like, I'm eligible 100%, and they just won't answer me as to why it's not there. So we just have to do it through my email. You know, you have to contact me directly to sign up for a year. So I'm offering 30% off for the next 4 days to try to raise. I mean, all I need to do is make 10 $100 sales, and this is fixed at this point, because I already have at least 500 of it back. So shouldn't be that difficult, really. There couldn't have been a man behind me, because there's this wall behind me. There's no one behind me. So anyways, I want to remind you guys, what is this? I think when it makes Mike Uchi stand, I don't know what the hell that means. I'm going to go home, and later, after we're done with the stream, which I'll just keep doing until there's no one here. And why is no one hitting the like button? I mean, you guys... Me subscribe your channel. Yeah, well, you should do that. Everyone should do that. Hit the bell notification too. It won't notify you, but you can join my Discord, and that gets notified. That's what a lot of people have told me, that if they just put on the bell notifications, they don't always get the notification. But if you join the Discord, then Discord will reliably notify you. Yeah, well, I'm honored to have you in the audience for so long, Ryan. You've been a very loyal supporter. And really, this community has been the sole thing that has kept me going for years at this point. I mean, it's been such an insane ride. Ups and downs that, you know, some were my mistakes, and some were just completely forces bigger than me that we have no control over, like COVID, you know. I don't know what you're referencing, Lana. Yeah, you know, and if you join the Discord, the Patreon, like when I find AI tokens or whatever tokens that I think are going to do well, it just sucks that I have not had money to invest all this time, because every single call I've made over the last 6 months has like 10x'd. So, you know, there is nobody out there that is like, oh, I took one of his calls and lost money. That hasn't happened. So I have to kind of live with the fact that you know, if I had even $1,000 to put into like Solana 6 months ago, I'd have $10,000 right now. It's really aggravating, really aggravating. And also, this thing that is supposed to have happened, that is finally happening, was supposed to happen 5 years ago. You know, so I was expecting it within a year, and we've just been treading water. Pretty wild. 1 like, 9 likes. I heard that if you watch at 0.75 speed, it's better for the algorithm. Doesn't make any sense, but it's possible. YouTube had an update. Good to know. So anyways, this video of the ruins, unless I'm too tired, which is possible when I get back to the hotel, I'm going to start working on it to keep myself from going insane. And it's going to be really good, really interesting. It's hard to believe here, you know, because if this was the United States and there were ruins like this, there would be guards, and there would be, you know, if not, they would be trashed and they would be spray painted on and all this stuff. Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. There's no graffiti. No graffiti. For all of you, you know, white supremacists out there that have been talking about how, like, what do you expect, you're in Latin America? Just shut up. You don't know anything. You know, like, they can leave ruins out for people to just go to themselves, and there's nothing destroyed. So my mind is still blown by that. I mean, I've covered a lot of ground, and I haven't seen any graffiti. There's actually, like, skulls and, like, Incan pottery just like on the trail. No one's touched it. So No, it's not set for children. So what, the like button is hidden? That's why no one's hitting the like button. I don't get it. What was I saying though? Oh yeah, so for those of you that haven't heard about this, you should subscribe so you don't miss it. There's like underground chambers in these ruins that are right around Cusco. So if you come here and you want to see them, I think it's just on one side of the bowl. It's not like the whole valley is, you know what I mean? It's just one side of the bowl. 10 likes. You go up these little trails that are just all over the side of the city, and there are ruins there, like giant. One of them, the Temple of Luna, is massive, and there's no guards, nothing. There's like wild horses running around, and sheep and alpaca and stuff just loose everywhere. Sometimes you'll see cowboys driving stuff, and it's like way up high, so you're almost at the peaks of the Andes. And there's like a little underground sort of area. There's a bunch of little ones that are caverns that are just small, and you can see they like cut the rock into benches that kind of look like thrones. And in some places they used an unknown method called vitrifying to make the rock, which is rough, hard sandstone, as smooth as marble. It's beautiful. And so there are these like weird giant thrones in underground caverns. And sometimes the indigenous will come in and they'll put these little coca leaf offerings with like some candy, because they say Pachamama, when you're down in her womb, you give her something sweet, which I found to be ironic since she makes us throw up everything and tells us not to eat sugar. And then apparently she wants to eat candy all day, just like a woman. Oh, right. So you're saying the like button's kind of hidden. What else was I saying about this? And aside from that, like, I mean, the thrones kind of make sense. You know, maybe they had giant gods that were here that needed big places to sit. But there are other features that just make no sense. Like the tops of these. Okay, first of all, when you're walking up the hill to the smaller sites, they're not buildings. They're not buildings. They're just like these blobs of sandstone that make no sense. They don't look like, you know, any sandstone outcropping that you would ever see. And there are lines that are almost like razor sharp, like perfect 45-degree angles for nothing. They don't do anything. They're just like these weird things. And then there's other places where it almost looks like stairs, and they're totally flat, like as if they have been machine sanded, or it doesn't make any sense. They don't do anything. There's no function to it. And the rock is so hard that it would have taken so long, even with stone tools, but there were no chisels. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing about it makes sense. And then also on the way up there, when you find the sandstone, it has fossils in it. But the main blobs have no fossils. So one of the theories is that they actually somehow pulverized these giant masses of sandstone and then used some kind of bonding agent, so it was like putty. And it looks like there are finger marks, like dragged through it. They'll make these little ridges, and it looks like it was done with fingers. So, and nobody knows anything. Like, just so far, I have failed, aside from getting robbed in other ways. I have not figured out what the hell's going on. That was one of my objectives. You know, I was thinking I will uncover some secrets if I can. What I was exactly thinking is that there's a lot of ubiquitous symbols throughout occult traditions all over the world. And I thought maybe because I have studied so many of the different traditions, maybe I would see something that, you know, has been overlooked, and I would get some insight. But so far, it just is an insane mystery that makes no sense to anyone. That's, yeah, and so it's funny when you go around with the experts and stuff, you know, they're basically like, well, we don't know anything, but we think a few things randomly that probably don't really work. So it's just all mysteries, man. Yeah, they look like giant thrones. I don't know. I mean, okay, so there's always a big hole in the, like, so you have the like leg part and then the seat, right? And then a back. And there's always a giant hole or two like right in the seam where the backrest hits the, like they might have stuck a pole in there or something. It definitely held something. And then you'll see these in random places. I don't know if they had flags and poles that they would put out. But yeah, there's these weird holes, and then there's also these perfectly circular pools that they call star mirrors, because at night you can see the reflections of the stars in these little pools. So that sounds kind of ritualistic, but they're just perfect circles that hold water. And then there is some drainage. Like you can tell some things were cut to drain, but from what? For what? You know, they're not shelters. You know, they're just these weird, and there's a lot of them. And in the Incan, oh, I'm wearing them. I was like looking everywhere for my sunglasses. The Incan road goes for like thousands and thousands of miles. Who says cocaine is a hell of a drug? Like what? I don't. Are you trolling me, or are you making a joke about the Incas chiseling the rock? Because I have a new rule: trolls just get blocked for life immediately. Well, the problem with that theory, Mr. Ryan, is that there's just not a lot of evidence for that. You know, people are always saying like they found these giant bones and wherever. Where are they? Where's the museum where they put this shit up? Like, you know, a lot of the problem with people believing conspiracy theories without evidence is that when we do have things that are being covered up, then no one believes us. You know, so we have to be really careful about what we repeat. You know, like flat Earth. That particular conspiracy theory, you know, not only is there like a few thousand pages of physics that I can understand with a formal 7th grade education, you know, like, I mean, not only that, and the 100 different observable things, naked eye stuff that, but just the too many conspirators factor is enough that you are like justifiably instantly retarded in the minds of anyone that you tell you believe flat Earth, totally for a good reason. Just the number of conspirators required makes it so stupid that you can't even begin to entertain it. That's not being open-minded. That's not because of indoctrination. It's because it's too goddamn stupid, you know? It's too goddamn stupid, period. End of story. You know, no question, no possibility. It's not even remotely possible. So. Yeah, you know, and if you on the other hand, the people, particularly liberals nowadays, that have been completely brainwashed to believe in the system, you really think there are no conspiracies when we have like 1% of the population and less all the time controlling all the wealth, and they all have mutual interests in a lot of the ideas that are promoted as conspiracy. You know, it's just as stupid to believe that it doesn't happen, and that humanity isn't sort of being farmed and exploited and tricked, and propaganda everywhere blaring at them from... Dude, Aleister Crowley noticed it in like 1841 when he went to the United States. That's crazy. Like his description of the US from back then is like now. He said these people are so Puritan and brainwashed that they're afraid of a little bit of cocaine, but they have pharmaceutical ads blaring at them from every radio and every billboard. For example, you know, I was like, damn, they were drugging them up like that back then even? So, you know, and they used to actually push cocaine and heroin on the mainstream population in the US. Have a snort relieves fatigue and cures what ails you. I used to have a mirror that was made by Coca-Cola from the 1930s that was sold by Sears and Roebuck to blow lines on. And it said, have a snort, relieves fatigue and cures what ail you, and mother of pearl with like a black mirror background. My friend stole it. I was so pissed. It's probably worth a fortune too. Yeah, and then I've seen an old advertise in a what do you call it, Sears and Roebuck catalog, where it is legitimately bright in here, so sunglass trolls just need to fuck off. Oh wow, that's awesome. I want to see. Yeah, there was that, and then I had the catalog, and it had 2 ads in it. One was for half-gram tablets of pure cocaine hydrochloride for a nickel, and it was like 20 of them or something. So like 10 grams of cocaine for a nickel. Wow. And you could just order it from Sears and Roebuck. And they would also send you, if you wanted a giant hypodermic needle, looked like it was for horses, to bang the... And then Bayer Pharmaceuticals actually invented heroin. And their ad said, for that hacking springtime cough. And it also came with a hypodermic needle from Sears and Roebuck. So, you know, it's like, you know, the establishment creates these things and then floods the world with them and then puts everyone in prison for allowing them to make money off of them. That's really what's been happening all this time. What's cracking, Zoe? Oh, Zoe. Zoe Gudrian. Zoe's got to be a girl. I hope. Well, I'm using this format because it ends up in the shorts feed as well, so I get a lot more views. The thing is, it's almost a waste of extra views because most of the shorts feed people are like not very invested and they don't really engage much and they don't contribute a lot. But still, you know, I mean, I think that I'm deprioritized on the main algorithm, but I don't seem to have that much trouble getting traction on the other one, so I use them both. But I have to do it vertical in order to connect with both streams. So that's why it's like that. Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm just trying to be entertaining. Don't take it too personally. Kick me in the cookie. You must be a sweet one if you're, you know, not really trying to repeat what I actually said, because it really wasn't that bad. I don't know if she's trying to close or something. No, it's only 6:45. Man, I'm starving though. Are you guys gonna get mad at me if I eat while I'm on a stream? I don't know what I'll eat. I've had like 1 meal in the last 2 days because I was so stressed. I felt sick. I didn't want to eat. You know, so by the way, you guys, like I said, you know, don't expect that I just have to ramble. This is like my Illuminastics Robbery Relief Fund stream. So, but if you want me to talk about any of my normal subjects, all you got to do is ask a question and I'll shift gears from complaining about trolls and whining about getting robbed. Happily. But I do need food or I'm going to die right here live in front of everyone. It might be easier than the next few days are promising to be. You haven't seen me eat anything normal? What do you mean, just like bugs and twigs and shit? It is true that I eat a lot of like whatever's in the jungle, you know? I mean, people in the United States, you know, right-wingers, like, they're going to make us eat bugs. And it's like, you're an idiot. They shouldn't have to make you eat bugs. You should just eat bugs like 80% of the rest of the world because it's a super clean source of protein that does not destroy shit, you know? It's like infinite supply of really clean protein. Don't be scared, you know? It just doesn't make any sense. And they're delicious, you know? I've never eaten a bug that wasn't good. I've eaten wasps of some kind. It wasn't really a wasp, I think. It was like a giant, giant-assed ant. That's actually the bourrée, the Warani called him. And one day I was walking along the street with a bunch of Warani kids all running around. I was really happy about that that day because they still knew everything, you know? They knew all the plants and they were so happy to show us just running around and and grabbing everything and peeling it and letting us try it. And I mean, and there's so much food in the jungle, it's just insane. But then we're walking along and I see all these like half dead, like wasp looking things with gigantic asses dragging themselves across the road, and they must have just gotten done breeding or something. So they were like half dead, and the little girl was like, "Bure!" And they all ran around all gleefully, like they loved them. It was like their favorite thing. And they're just popping them in their mouth like popcorn and alive, you know. And then usually I'll cook the bugs. And then she came up, she's like, "Here," you know. And I'm like, all right. So pop one of these giant ass. That's the translation for the Quechua name for it. Giant-assed ant, the bure. And they all eat them, all different tribes. They're a little bit different in different areas, and I guess like every now and then at night, a nest of them will just all come out, and then they'll find like, you know, 10,000 of them. And so you go to the market the next day, and there's just like bowls and bowls and bowls full of these ants. And so I've eaten 2 different varieties of them. One that tasted like almonds, kind of like sweet almonds. And the other one was almost exactly the same, but it was covered in hair. So it was a little bit like a furry bug. Not really about it. But the main thing that they eat in like the Tina area and a lot of other places in the jungle, I mean in Asia too, there's a version, it's a coconut worm there, I guess. But they're a palm worm, and you cut down the chanta palm, that's why they're called chantacuru. And curu is actually like sort of cura, which is cure in Spanish. So it's a mixture of Quechua and a improperly pronounced Spanish word, because they believe that it cures respiratory problems and throat problems. No, that's what, Zoe, it's not that it should be all you eat. That if it's all you can get, no, it's the best thing you can eat. You know, overall, like if you're in the jungle, chantacurus, these giant worms, and they taste like shrimp if you cook them. It's nothing but a psychological thing, a cultural thing, you know. If you don't cook them thoroughly, they will kind of explode in your mouth, which is kind of gross. And you have to bite the head right away, or they'll bite you if you don't cook them. And it doesn't really hurt that much. They're not very strong, but still, it's weird when you put something in your mouth and it bites you back. You know, it's a good pinch too. There's Enrica, people. How's it going? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not surprised you don't want to eat the bugs again, but if I saw them, I would eat them again. I mean, they were good. You know, and it's one of those things that I know, like when I start saying like you should eat bugs, the right-wingers in my audience are going to probably delete their Patreon and unsubscribe, you know. But again, that's why, you know, I have to ask for money if people want to keep telling the truth, because people get mad about everything nowadays. You know, it doesn't matter what you say. It's going to piss off one side or the other if it's true, because that's how the propaganda has been designed. It's been designed for that. That's the divide and conquer strategy. That's what they're doing. They pitch half of it down one aisle, the other half down the other aisle. So if there's anyone outside of it that is telling the truth, then at any given time, they're going to be alienated one side or the other, constantly. He who speaks the truth has few friends, so. You still haven't tried, dude, you're Ecuadorian and you won't eat the bugs, dude? Come on, man. Eat the bugs, dude. Eat the bugs, you know? And it's funny because if you say that, people assume that you mean like, you know, that you support the WEF or something, you know? Of course not. I just know that chantacurus are a good thing to eat. And it actually works. There's a video of me. Enrica was there, I think. Were you there, Enrica? I had a terrible sore throat all of a sudden, and it had just started, and it was fucking bad. Like, it hurt. You know, sometimes you get them, and it's, like, really painful, and it had just started. And the Quechua will say, you know, if you have a sore throat, eat 2 chantacurus. So I was like, all right. You know, I hadn't eaten a raw one yet. So and then they say you can't cook it if you want the medicine to work. And it makes sense. It's probably their fat is highly anti-inflammatory, but it must also be antibacterial, antiviral. Thank you, comedy. So I popped 2 of them down, and within like 30 minutes, dude, shit was gone completely, as if it had never happened. I was 100% better within like 45 minutes at the most. So you can't tell me that it's some conspiracy to make us sick to eat some shit that can kill a fucking sore throat that hurts that bad in less than an hour. That's a conspiracy to kill us? If you believe that, you might be stupid. I'm sorry. You know? I mean, just everyone just needs to stop parroting what they think their demographic wants them to, you know? It's really wild to watch the right-wingers criticize the left for their constant virtue signaling when the right constantly virtue signals themselves. You all do it. You're all doing the same thing. And a lot of the psychology that they have ingrained in people is exactly the opposite of what they're actually doing. The liberals believe that they're rebels that are out to overturn the man, and yet they're the most conformist and they're becoming the most Nazi, you know? They have people believing they're the opposite of what they are. It's so Orwellian, it's amazing. And then the right thinks they're all tough, you know? But they're scared to defund the police. They want to expand the military. They want to keep all their guns. It's like, how scared are you, little bitches? Like, what is, I thought you guys were all tough. Like, what, you need all that protection and all the guns? You know? I thought the liberals were pussies. They don't seem that scared. Like, why are you guys so scared? You know what I mean? They have everyone programmed with so much cognitive dissonance that it's just completely outrageous to watch from the outside, you know? And I'm not special. I just happened to not ever have a TV in my house. I didn't start using the internet till 2011. I just was never of it. That's all. It's not that hard, you know? It's just a simple matter of not having been indoctrinated on either side ever, you know? That's what happens. You can see what's actually happening. So, yeah, man, I wish there was a lesser vanishing ritual of the pentagram sometimes so I could just, you know, like, I don't know why this world keeps turning round and round, but I wish it would stop and let me off right now. I have a question. Go for it. I like questions because it's exhausting to try to just keep thinking of things to think or say all the time. I don't ignore you, comedy. In fact, I've been planning to learn some comedic formulas to try to make myself more entertaining. How old am I? 44, almost 45. Have I ever ate candy? What do you mean, candy? Have I ever ate candy in my life? No, I mean, not since I was a kid, really. Very, very rarely. I almost never eat any processed sugar because there are certain things that I've noticed, right? Ayahuasca does not work on people that have eaten a lot of fake food. It can be a month of drinking it almost every night, even with a diet at first, before they have visions. So, you know, you got to think about that. Like, if you're eating something that is causing a psychedelic to not be able to work in your brain, that's scary. You know, what is it? Like, why? One of my theories is that the aluminum, usually I think aluminum bicarbonate or something that they put in food as a preservation agent, jams up your neurotransmitters. You know, and the connection that I have that is not just like me saying, it's not, you know what I mean? This isn't a wild guess. It causes dementia and Alzheimer's. So it is getting into the brain and doing something. We already know that for sure. So that's what I think it is. People that have eaten a lot of processed food take forever for ayahuasca to work. In fact, I had this couple that was Ecuadorian, and it was crazy, man. They were so full of crap. Because what happened is a local retreat had the shaman not show up. And I didn't know, it's my bad, I didn't know that they hadn't told them anything because the guy seemed totally competent to me and he'd been there for years, so I just assumed I should not have done that. No one got hurt, but still, you know, I just assumed that he had asked them stuff, and he called me because the shaman just didn't come. And so I went down there to do the ceremony for these 2 young Ecuadorians, and I gave him the shot, and then I waited for a while, and nothing happened, and then I gave them another after an hour, nothing happened, and I was like, what? Because my brew's, you know, crazy strong. By comparison, you know, a lot of people serve what's called tourist medicine, and it's not, it's weak. So another one, another one, another one. And finally I was like, I don't know what this is could possibly be with you guys. So it's possible that you're just not like, I don't know why it would be both of you, but you know, ayahuasca's a thing. So I gave them a tablespoon of this blue honey I had with me, and nothing happened. It's like, man, so psilocybin doesn't work either. Gave them another psilocybin spoons, and it had chunks of mushroom, so nothing happened. And then finally, I waited like, you know, an hour or two to make sure, and it had been hours and hours and hours, no response. So I had some DMT with me, and I just made some chonga real quick, and gave them that, and that worked. That finally worked. But my point is, after all that, they were like, would you like a sandwich? And I was like, yeah, sure. And they went and brought me a sandwich on like highly processed white bread, fake bologna, fake cheese, fake mayonnaise. And I was like, do you guys always eat like this? And they're like, yeah. I was like, your entire life? And they're like, yep. And I was like, that's why the ayahuasca didn't work. Didn't they tell you to stop eating processed food 2 weeks before you came? And they're like, nope. And I was like, did he tell you anything? And they're like, nope. And so, I mean, they were, you know, 22 or something. So the chances they had pre-existing health conditions, or, you know, nobody in Ecuador is on SSRIs for the most part. So most of the risk factors, you just kind of know it's just not part of the culture. But still, I was kind of irritated that he didn't ask them anything. And didn't tell me, you know, didn't tell me anything either. Cheers, Zoe. Yeah, I think so. Like, actually, so she's asking if two or more people do the lesser banishing ritual at the same time. Does it increase the? Here's the thing. It's not for that, you know. So, yes, but unless you are like certain that you are in a committed relationship with someone, and it's, you know, or something like that, or like, you don't want to do that, really, you know. You don't want to. Your circle is your circle, and you don't want to compromise your sovereignty, no matter how much you like somebody. So I wouldn't really advise like doing the traditional type of lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram with another person in the circle, unless it's like your life partner or something, and you're sure of that, which is difficult to be sure of, for sure. That's the only thing that's for sure. So I wouldn't advise it. I mean, yeah, one of the things that I have theorized about the weather phenomena, it used to happen at Grateful Dead concerts. I've seen it. I've heard, you know, the stories are too crazy. It's not a coincidence. It's not a, in fact, you can watch it on the internet. The reunion show in Santa Clara, it doesn't rain in the Bay in June. And the only cloud in the Bay Area that day was right above the stage, pretty much, like behind and above them. So, you know, Deadheads have always kind of considered the rainbow a symbol of Jerry Garcia, and it was also Gay Pride Day. And Bob Weir sings, "The rainbows spiral round and round and tremble and then explode." And two rainbows, so rainbows in the song is plural too. And instantly these two rainbows, one for Jerry Garcia's spirit and one for the gay pride people, formed behind the stage, I guess. I mean, that's how I took it. And ironically, the drummer in the band had written in his book that, you know, it may have seemed like we were controlling the weather, but, you know, drummers tend to not be the deepest people. And he came out, and that book had just been published, right? And he's like in tears. He's like, you guys, we didn't know that was happening. We're looking out this way. And he was like crying. He's like, you know what that was? So he had to recant what he had said about his own band in this book, because that was just too much. It was too much. I was on the cover of the Wall Street Journal too that weekend. That blew my mind. That's the last thing I ever expected, is to see me on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. I didn't even notice anyone took a picture, but somebody just emailed it to me like, "Hey dude, did you know you're on the cover of the Wall Street Journal last night?" Yeah, that rainbow thing was crazy. I've seen a bunch of them, man. I've seen a bunch of them, but the reason I think it happens is that there are so many people with their filters down, right? Because they're all on acid, that you're connected more directly to the electromagnetic field, and there's so many people with the same expectation that it has an exponentially higher chance of actually affecting the weather, you know? That's why rain dances work sometimes, and they do. I've seen it, like, in a way that was absolutely undeniable. I mean, you know, you have to admit, I guess, the possibility of coincidence to some extent, but we did the rain dance, and it was completely clear outside, and we were doing it inside, though, so we go outside, and there are puddles, big, deep puddles everywhere in the parking lot, and the clouds are already totally gone. So it was totally unnatural. Like, it didn't make sense. There was no clouds, and it must have started like pretty much exactly when the rain dance did to accumulate that much water in only 30 or 40 minutes. And then the clouds were not even not raining anymore, but totally clear by the time we came outside. So there ain't no way in my mind that was a coincidence. Especially knowing Golden Light Eagle and the rest of those guys that were there. Ain't no way in hell. And you know, there's plenty of anthropologist reports of Native Americans being able to cause water to boil without a heat source. Many documentations of that over the years. So, you know, that type of phenomena is real, but one of the reasons that science disregards all that kind of stuff is that it's not consistent. So in order for science to acknowledge something, it has to be consistent, repeatable, and measurable. And any good magician will tell you that magic does not always work, but it does work. And to a scientist, they're just saying, okay, well, what you're doing is saying the times there are coincidences justify the science as being authentic. And it's funny because experiments sometimes fail, right? So I guess science isn't real. Like, what is this? You know, is it deliberate? Or like, do they know consciously that they're full of shit and they're saying stuff anyways? Or they're just so indoctrinated that they just don't, you know what I mean? Blinders, that's probably the answer. They have blinders on and they're just like, don't apply that logic to ourselves, but anything we don't like, you can apply it to, you know? So. Sovereignty. Yeah, sovereignty sounds better to me, but I know it's sovereignty. I don't know why, it just sounds better. Correlation does not prove causation. No, it doesn't. But let me give you another example. There was the first Dark Star Orchestra show, who was the world's best like Grateful Dead cover band. We went to see them, and as we were walking to our tent, and you know they play a different show every night, and so they had like 300 songs in circulation, and they never played the same songs the same way, same order. So the chances they're going to play any particular song on a given night are pretty slim. So we're walking to our tent, and this old hippie is like, the Grateful Dead used to make it rain when they played Looks Like Rain, and we're like, yeah, right, whatever, acid casualty, old man. So we go back to our tent, eat our mushrooms, go back down to and I had never heard any of this music before. It was not familiar to me. I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know the song, right? So I didn't recognize it when they started it, but when we got down there, I remembered what the old man said, and I looked around at the sky, and it was clear. And I was like, yeah, we'll see about that. And so they go into Looks Like Rain, and I hear him say, and it feels like rain, and raindrops hit my face like on the mark. And my brother too, you know, and we look at each other like, what the fuck, man, you gotta be kidding me. And as the song builds and builds and builds and builds, it rains harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. And then on the last beat of the song, a lightning bolt shoots directly over my head, my hair puffs up, and it hits the stage, and you can see like this shower of sparks, the lights go out, and the band is gone. And at first I thought that wasn't real. And as soon as I had that thought, the lady behind me whispers in my ear, that was fucking close. And I was like, oh my God, it was real. And then the sky just cracks open and it dumps so hard. I thought that the band left because of the rain, but later I met the band, I actually played the song Dark Star with them, which was another tremendous coincidence because I saw them 5 or 6 times and I thought, why don't they ever play the song Dark Star? I wonder when I'll ever hear them do it. And the first time I heard them do it, I was on stage with them with Donna Jean, who was actually in the Grateful Dead, sitting in the front row, and one of the Dead's former keyboard players, but after Garcia died, Rob Baracco, and that was crazy. And I got to talk to them about that night, and it turned out that that lightning bolt actually hit a transformer on the stage and blew it up, and that's why they had to go. So correlation does not mean causation unless there is consistency, and there's a lot of consistency here. There was also the time in 1992 when there was a monsoon in Las Vegas, and it had been going on for a week, and the Dead had a 3-night what is it called, residency. And so they went out and it was pouring and they played Here Comes Sunshine. And I was in a restaurant, right? This dude's telling me the story. I'd heard it before from someone else that was there. But this dude, we're at Denny's, and he's telling me, like, man, yeah, there was like this, like, those clouds like parted in the middle over the stadium, and this like V of white birds, some kind of like desert heron or something, flew right directly into the beam of white light that's like sunlight that's shining onto the stage, illuminating everything. All of a sudden the rain parts perfectly so no one's getting wet anymore, and they start, you know, they're playing Here Comes Sunshine. And then when the last note of the last show, it started fucking dumping again. So the guy was telling me the story. There's more to it too. It was wild. And somebody at the other table was like, I was there too. I know that fucking. And then they started like talking about the shit that happened together, so you knew he wasn't lying. So you know what I mean? Like, if it only happened once or twice, then okay. But this was like a really consistent phenomenon. And to answer your question, I guess, Athena, goddess Athena, that's, you know, when it happens all the time, you don't say that's just a coincidence anymore. Like the improbability factor just grows and grows and grows until you just sound dumb saying that, you know. Let's see, what's another one? Oh yeah, even fish at no, fish at Red Rocks in Colorado. It was pouring there too, so they played Divided Sky, and there's a video of this on YouTube, I think. And the clouds parted just above Red Rocks, so there was a divided sky on each side of the show, and it was clear in the middle and storming on both sides a minute into the song Divided Sky. So sure, it could be a coincidence, but it's pretty fucking weird. And then there was another one at Widespread Panic at Red Rocks, where they went into a song about rainbows, and the first time he says rainbow, one forms above the stage. And that's what I think. I don't think it's not real, but I think it has to do with all of the people having the same expectations. You know, you got 60,000 people. The Dead show's like 80,000 sometimes. Bob Weir said that the stadiums would be so packed they could see people passing out with nowhere to fall down. Like, they would literally just pack the football stadium shoulder to shoulder. So, you know, and there was a lot of weird shit that would happen at Grateful Dead concerts. In fact, Joseph Campbell, the famed Harvard mythologist, said that in his entire career searching the jungles and the mountains and everywhere for natural magic, he had only seen it at Grateful Dead concerts and in the jungles of Borneo. So, and it's not like that dude was a hippie, you know. He was a fucking Harvard mythologist and one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. There's actually a conversation with him and Jerry Garcia on YouTube, where he says right in front of Garcia, so the interviewer is like, so how would you describe the Grateful Dead? And Joseph Campbell goes, it's literally the antidote to the atom bomb. I'm sure Garcia was just tickled pink by that, you know, to have Joseph Campbell talking about his band that way. Yeah, I don't know. ¿Estás abierto? Hola. Uh-oh, shit. ¿Hay comida?
Sopa.
¿Sopa?
Sopa de quinoa, dieta de pollo.
Okay.
Crema de zapallo.
Okay.
¿Qué sopa?
Oh, es tipos diferentes?
Sí, hay dieta de pollo.
Ajá.
Sopa de quinoa y crema de zapallo.
¿Qué es el próximo?
Crema de zapallo.
What is that?
Una verdura amarilla.
But, oh, okay, yeah. Pollo.
¿Qué te fue?
Porfa, gracias. Yes, I'm gonna eat some soup. And then hopefully I'm gonna pick up my guitar tomorrow, and it's gonna be sweet, and I'm not gonna have to kill the guy for breaking the neck or something. That's what I was starting to worry, because when you mess around with the tension in the neck, you can crack it. So I was scared that maybe that happened, because I told him about the weather damage, that it had been on top of a van coming down from the jungle through the mountains, and they had let it open and just flop in the fucking rainstorm, and then closed it without telling me, so that it was trapped in there with the moisture. We're talking about a PRS, so it's not a cheap guitar. So, you know, I thought maybe it just had more weather damage than he thought, and he tried to do a normal adjustment on the neck and it cracked, and he's got Oh my god, I just broke a fucking $2,000 PRS. So hopefully that didn't happen. Yeah, that's the thing about unifying the consciousness of the total collective. You know, if my theory about why these weather phenomena will happen at Grateful Dead concerts, and there was other stuff too. There was, you know, group mind telepathy phenomena is really the most famous thing. And there are two parts to this. One is that when that group mind phenomena engages, something happens to it, raises our consciousness. One theory is that whoever is at the highest level, when that happens, everyone is drawn up to them. And it, you know, maybe not all the way, but higher than they are. And interestingly, I was playing with my band at a place. We don't sing about this stuff. I didn't have a YouTube channel back then. I didn't talk about it online. There's no way she'd heard this from anywhere. She was a punk rock fan. She did not take LSD. You know, she did not listen to this kind of music, didn't know anything about it. And she came up to me and the bass player after a show and said exactly what I just said about the Grateful Dead, about what we had been doing in there. She said, "Can I tell you what you taught me about music tonight?" And she went on this rant that described exactly that. And so that kind of hit me like, you know, what is this, like a random, this is exactly what my intentions are here. Haven't said anything to anyone. And then she comes with an exact description of what I intended to wordlessly do to the audience, you know? So... but yeah, that's why they want to divide us so much, because if we collectively unify our consciousness, you know, I think that the law of manifestation and that whole thing is real to an extent, but the people that are engineering the commercial version, they're doing it for maximum marketability. So, you know, nobody wants to tell you, like, you don't attract everything to you. You know, you like when you say that whatever happens to you is the product of your internal environment or something, like, okay, 2-year-olds die from cancer. What are you talking about? You're blaming the child. Like, people mean well because it makes them feel safe and good to say that kind of stupid shit, but it's horrific, really, you know? Like, it's so asinine that it's, like, horrific. You know? So, but there is some truth to it, you know, obviously. And what a lot of those new agey manifestation gurus don't want to tell people, because people they'll pay you to tell them what they want you to tell them, to convince them, things that make them feel safe and good and powerful, even if they're lies. Tell me lies, sweet little lies. Tell me lies. What is that? It's boomer music. Fleetwood Mac. So, you know what I mean? It takes a lot more. Like, it's really subtle, you know? Like, generally, like, I can do it, and it'll show up in smaller ways, unless it's something you put way in the future, and then you have time to build up energy and momentum, and you also have to create the actual channels for things to flow to come to manifestation. It doesn't just, like, the secret people try to tell you, if you just imagine a red bicycle that will just roll up in your front yard, and then they make $100 million for this stupid ass lie that they tell people, you know. But the point is, I think the more minds you have focused on a single objective, the stronger that current is, because it really just comes down to electromagnetism. And I think people also don't like it when we try to reduce spiritual concepts to material stuff, but I don't find it reduction. To me, it's one and the same. Right? Nothing in this world happens without causality. You know, there has to be some mechanism of action for things to play out. There is no woo in the universe, but there are things science doesn't acknowledge that are true. You know, telepathy is real, 100%, I'm certain of that. Precognition, 100% happens. And the only reason people deny it is it's not consistent, right? But it is definitely real, and there are other things that are real. But as much as people hate to hear it, it's all dependent on forces of nature and laws of creation. There's no, like, you're not going to just override those laws. You know, it's just, I don't understand why people are so determined that there's some comic book version of reality that they have to base their spirituality on. It's just not real, you know. So yeah, that's the power of understanding real occult knowledge, is that you do understand that it's not that there isn't a spiritual level to reality, but we're in this 3D world of duality, and as long as that's true, if you're going to influence something with your consciousness, the only way that's going to happen is through electromagnetism. You know, that's just how things work on this plane of existence. So If you just think about it that way, the more minds you have focused on a single thing, it's like the stronger the magnet. It really is that simple. And that's why the divide and conquer agenda, it's one of the main reasons that the divide and conquer agenda, and it's why the pyramids exist. You know, I had no idea. I can't prove this. Hit the like button, please. Also, remember, don't forget, all of you new people here, that this is a robbery relief stream, so I am trying to raise, I think, I haven't looked in a minute, but like $900 more. We've made a hell of a lot more progress than I ever could have imagined, and thank you all so much for that. But yeah, still have quite a ways to go and only a few days to do it, or I could be fucking toast. So, but anyways, the pyramids, and the reason they exist, and I swear to you, I didn't know there were other people saying this. One of them is actually an engineer that wrote a book about it. I was just talking to Camille Suave, or no, she told me not to pronounce it like that. I'll have to ask her again. Sorry, Camille. Local author and expert, ruin expert. Speaking too much Spanish, so I put my adjective after. What was this? Okay, so I had this vision, right, that the capstone, where the capstone was, there was this electromagnetic current that they were using to interface with the field in order to affect stuff, like serious god level magic. You know, like the pharaoh could really cause changes to occur in conformity with his will with this device, right? And so, and I knew it was right. And there was no reason for it. I was just like having my coffee at like 9 a.m. like not, and all of a sudden I just see this thing and understand exactly what's happening in my head for no fucking reason. And then about a week later, I found this YouTube short where they went into the pyramids, and they were showing right around the main chamber in the center, there was staircases that had been melted, and they looked like candle wax dripping down. And the scientists said the only thing that could have caused that is a very strong electromagnetic current or a nuclear blast. So, you know, I just like randomly had this thought for no reason. Oh, you know what it was? I think I had just discovered Michael Levin, and he was talking about how the field and electromagnetic charges can actually like can overrule DNA and like cause permanent changes to the progeny of organisms without altering the genome. And I think that's actually what triggered it, because I don't know why I knew about the current, but I was like, that's what the pyramids were for. Altering the DNA, not the DNA, but the, you know, evolution or consciousness of all the organisms on Earth. And then, you know, and then when I was telling Camille about this, she's like, oh yeah, there's this engineer that wrote this book about this. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And then she started describing it all, and it was exactly what I had like conjured up for absolutely no reason. Any advice to humanity? Hey man. Yeah, of course I have advice for humanity. Just cut it out. Cut it the fuck out. Yeah, I don't like Christianity at all. I don't have any problems with Jesus' supposed teachings. I just don't really see any reason why telling people not to throw rocks at hookers or to be nice to each other is really a reason to believe someone's the Messiah. You know, it's a little bit like my son is 4 and he knows all that stuff. He's never heard of Jesus, you know? So we don't need to force it down people's throats and kill people and do all this shit for 2,000 years over some lesson about how to be decent to your neighbor. But the only thing that matters, really, in this whole universe is that whole thing about love your neighbor as you would love yourself. If people actually did that, then the world would be incredible. And, you know, I think a lot of us are sort of jaded by the knowledge that no one's really gonna do that. But it has to start somewhere. So it's kind of why I sort of go against the grain and, you know, not trying to toot my own horn, but if I have only 100 soles to my name and I find a 5 soles coin in my pocket and there's some guy singing his heart out with no legs, I'm gonna give it to him, you know? It's not like, until we can level the playing field, everyone that has more than everyone else most, if you don't need it, you don't deserve it. If you're still clinging to it, in my opinion. I think a lot of what I've seen in terms of like defending billionaires and stuff over the last few years is really scary. It really just goes to show the level of illness that our society really has engendered in people. It's terrible. It's insane, What's the saying, blink your third eye thrice, if you know what I mean? Well, in magic, everything is done 3 times, and you'll see that everywhere. There's all kinds of references to it. So Hermes Trismegistus was also the thrice greatest, right? You see the tris in there, trice, thrice greatest. So it's a reference to the fact that it's your third eye. It's Trismegistus, the thrice greatest. Say it 3 times. Click your heels together 3 times. All this 3. So blink your third eye thrice, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. It's just a joke a little inside joke for the Hermetic people. Oh yeah. Does that happen? Hit the like button. It starts to glow. See, it's causing change to occur in conformity with will. It's a magical act. Oh shit. That's right. I was starting to worry for a second because, like I said, I can't get more money until Western Union opens tomorrow, and then it just hit me that I just ordered food and I only have this little bit of, but the woman at the hostel still owes me change, so I panicked a little bit for a second. I forgot about that. Thank you guys all for sending all those hearts. I don't know if it helps anything, but click the goddamn like button, man. I'm seriously coming up there. You guys don't fucking cooperate a little bit more. This place is nice, right? That's another thing I don't think people realize about like Cusco. This is first world. This is all the way first world. Like, really, Urubamba? It's not. And poverty hits differently in this part of the world because people don't like in Ecuador, the poverty was ugly in a lot of the jungle communities. You know what I mean? Like things looked bad, like you could tell. And here, even, the poorer neighborhoods and stuff, they're not like trashed and they're not like ghetto. It's just, they just don't have any money. But they're just, indigenous women walking around with their laundry and, they don't seem poor. They just are. But anyways, it's really nice. Like everything's clean and there's no, I don't know. It's not what people think if they haven't been here. Just want to repeat that again for all of you people that are like, well, of course you got robbed. You trusted somebody in South America. First of all, I did not turn my back on her for 20 seconds. That's it, man. 20 seconds. It's all it took. 3 days I spent, a few hours with her every day. But, don't let one bad apple spoil the whole bunch, man. I've never seen such a bunch of happy people, all exuberant all the time, partying all the time, Everything's so brightly colored and food's great. And people are nice and very sincere and authentic. And, I don't want to leave. That's another thing. Like, it is true that I just lost my family's immigration money over a fucking blink of an eye mistake. But it's almost just as much so I don't want to have to leave, I don't want us to have to leave because this community is great and I like Peruvians better than just about anybody else on earth, just because I ran across a couple of bad ones since I've been here, And the situation with, defending the young prostitute from her pimp, first of all, I didn't know that's what was happening. But, I mean, most people would not, he had tattoos on his face and he was big and I just want to make sure that I'm absolutely clear that, for most people that mind their own business, it's not, you know, you're not going to be here doing that. So that doesn't represent a normal experience in Cusco. Plus, there isn't really a lot of that. You know, street hooking is illegal. So they're in clubs and stuff. I don't think she wasn't out for that. They were just like probably shopping and got in an argument or something, or he was just being a pimp and being a dick. But yeah, after she asked for my number and then I got pictures of my hotel room door, that was pretty fucking terrifying. Yeah, that's like the last thing you want, you know. That's terrible too. Can you imagine like somebody helps you and then you respond by like doing that to them, giving your pimp his phone number and, you know, tracking him to his hotel and stuff. It's just... And that was after the theft, so I didn't have anything to lose at that point. By the way, another thing people have been saying is like, you know, why would you be traveling with that kind of value? And I always am. I mean, I have to. I'm all cash, and that was the first time I had a lot of cash with me in a hostel. But you guys have to remember, I'm traveling all the time, like for years. No one has ever entered my hostel when I wasn't there without permission. It's not easy to do, you know. They have like 10-foot walls around them most of the time. There's a gate, so you have to get rung in the first gate and be able to get in the room, and that means you got to get past the hotel people without a key or whatever. Like, I mean, it's just really, really improbable, and that's not what happened. But I always have my camera, which is expensive as hell. I have my laptop with me all the time, you know. I have my guitar with me most of the time, so you know, nothing's ever happened. And I'm a YouTuber that travels around making videos, so gracias. I mean, it's just what I do, and there's never been an issue. Until it was crucially fucking important, you know? Hi, Mr. Lennon. Yeah, you know, that's how I find these. It's funny, even if people don't speak any English at all, if you go into a place and you say, I'm looking for John Lennon sunglasses, then they will know what you're talking about. In any country I've been in so far, Ecuador too, if I said I need John Lennon glasses, they're like, oh, here. Good day, Mr. Fodzy. I'm actually pretty pleased with the number of trolls that we've had tonight because it was really starting to piss me off today. Right? I mean, there are influencers that make millions of dollars and they will ask their audience to give them money for nothing and they'll do it. So I don't really, I guess trolls, you know, they just, it's not like you have to take them seriously or listen to anything they say. Greetings from Turkey. Mimit. You know what was crazy, man? So I've talked about this girl that I dated for like 10 seconds. It was one of the most interesting human beings I've ever encountered in my life. But she, her mom was a Uruguayan indigenous woman that had been like captured and tortured during some political uprising or something. And her father was like some giant Viking stock from Sweden. So she was Swedish Viking kind of vibe mixed with Uruguayan indigenous. And exactly what you would imagine from that combination. And the pot farm I was running at the time, there was this girl that I thought was a total gold digger. Maybe she is, but she actually turned out to stick with the dude and they're running a happy little farm and stuff. So I feel like maybe my judgment was a bit severe. But I don't know. Gringos at an airport and then followed them to the United States, and I knew the first guy, and then she did it again. So that's why I thought she was a gold digger. Fair enough, right? But anyways, she was Turkish, right? And so this girl that, you know, she could literally transform like a shapeshifter. Like her mood would change her hair length, like it would curl up. Like she was in this like bratty Latina mode at one point, and her normally straight, like longer hair, like curled, and it was like shoulder length. That doesn't even make sense. Like, that's how she was, though. I mean, I wouldn't post her Facebook page, but if you found her profile, you scroll through it, and there's like 100 different girls, but it's all her. It was insane. And so the Turkish girl comes in the house one day, and the Viking Indian girl starts talking to her in fucking Turkish. I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, who is this girl? She's the one that gave me the tobacco enema that caused an earthquake. But yeah, I had kind of a temper, and she said, tobacco will fix this. I was like, fuck you. I'm not drinking tobacco juice. You're out of your goddamn mind. I mean, I knew ayahuasqueros do this. I mean, tabacqueros do this. But no way. Not only did she convince me to drink it, she convinced me to do an enema. And when I came out of the bathroom, she took my hands and said, may what you've been holding fall to the center of the earth. And at that moment, the whole house started shaking so bad that books were falling off the bookshelves and cups were crashing and shit. And I thought at first that the guy that owned the house, he was a really bad blackout drunk and he drove around like that all the time. I thought he had just hit the house in his truck. And then I realized it was an actual earthquake right when she said, may whatever you're carrying fall to the center of the earth. So, could be coincidence, but man, that shit was crazy. I was just too white for her in the end, you know. Remember one day we came home and she put her hands on the coffee table and started like twerking at me. And I just stood there for a second and I was like, that shit doesn't work on white people. She got tired of that shit quick, man. I don't know why I was such a party pooper, you know. I should have just played along, but Latin girls don't like that, man. They don't like it when they turn on the Riz and you're like, whatever. Take that shit somewhere else. That type of Riz, anyways. Speaking of that, I don't know if I told you guys this story the other night, but I've learned some lessons that aren't so negative, I guess, here. And one of them is that, you know, I've always had the ability to just like laugh in the face of really beautiful women if they come on to me with just, I don't know, I'm more likely, infinitely more likely to do that than to accept it, which I know is really weird for a guy, right? But almost any time that would happen, that's what I would do. And especially when I was in bands and it happened a lot. But then I realized after being here for a couple of weeks and experiencing what happens when Latinas do that, it's dangerous. Because I don't think most white girls know that this exists or something. I've never seen anything like it. But, you know, and I'm not into it at the moment because I just split up with my partner and I'm just not trying to, I don't want anything to do with women. But I was in this club the other night listening to this band, and at one point, this girl at the table next to me, who I would say was a 4, maybe, just turned around and like a bolt, like a laser beam, turned on like infinite Latina Riz powers, and I couldn't even I didn't even know what the fuck she was talking about. Like she went on for like 4 minutes and I didn't hear a fucking word of it, you know, because I was just dazzled by her expressions and the way she was using her eyes and mouth and shit. And I was like, holy crap, you know. I'd had to look down a couple times just to try to like get my head back together, and it's like normal. It's happened a few times in the last couple of days. I'm pretty immune to it still just because of circumstances, but yeah. Also noticed they seem to like older guys here. So if I can get over all this heartbreak and shit, this seems like exactly, you know, if Enrica doesn't ever come back, then I've also gone to the right country for that, because holy shit, man. Yeah, of course I've tried Mapacho. You know, Mapacho actually has the Harmala alkaloids. That ayahuasca has. A lot of people don't realize that, but it does. Yeah, but that whole Latina Riz thing, man, fucking messed up, man. I've heard of it, but except for, well, that girl from Uruguay would kind of do it, but she was half white, so it was a little bit off. Um, yeah, man. I was even thinking about it right now. I forget what the fuck I'm talking about, you know. And she wasn't even like really without turning on the infinite Riz, Latina Riz thing. You know, I was like, I'm not trying to be mean, but I was, you know, I wouldn't have gone home with her. Put it that way, you know. No matter how many six packs, like, and then she just turns around and is all like fucking like sexo hypnotoad or some shit. And like I said, it's not unusual. It wasn't just her. They're all like that. It happened at the drugstore earlier. But it wasn't even, she wasn't even trying to do it. I've noticed there's certain, like, some Latin women have this feature with their lips that it always makes them seem like they're kind of just thinking like, I'm way too hot for this, whatever they're doing, and they're kind of pouting about it or something. And it, like, every expression in their face, like, suggests this, like, unsatisfied lust or something. It's really wild. And I'm like the weird, you know, unsexed gringo that is just like looking at all this as like almost like an anthropologist or something more than like a man. They're aggressive too, man. They're aggressive as hell. Like the way when I bought all the girls roses in the bar the other day, they weren't trying to take no for an answer. Like, white girl will kind of like subtly flirt at you, and if you do not give anything back, they're all brokenhearted and self-esteem crushed and shit, you know, usually. But these girls, they're, you know, they were literally physically trying to drag me around and stuff, and I had to like really pull to get away from them. Like, they're not trying to take no for an answer. That probably never happens. You know, Latin men are notoriously oversexed, so they're like, what? Really? Like, you're seriously running away like a scared little boy right now? Yep. Yep, and I will continue to probably for many months. Unfortunately, probably for me. Decency isn't always the best quality to have, you know. Sometimes I think it's just, I understand why so many people have abandoned it for sociopathy. I mean, you can devote your life to trying to do good works for almost for free, and then you have a tragedy and trolls will still kick you in the face on the internet, you know, relentlessly. Pretty good soup. It's like some nice jazz playing in the background. The weather's perfect. If I still had a fat wallet, I'd be in heaven right now. I don't think it's taste, dude. It's not my taste. It would work on any man, dude. You're just doomed. You're absolutely doomed. If one of these girls turns on that fucking Latina Riz Force tractor beam, you're toast. You're fucking toast, unless you're me right now. Probably like 1 in a billion. And I only can resist it because of heartbreak and just not being in that, you know, I just can't think about that. It's almost like her betrayal ruined sex for me. When I think about it, that's what I think about. Not, you know, that it's gonna be interesting new experience with these oversexed Latina chicks, you know. It's like, I just get this, it's just a reminder of all this damage that's been done. So, it's like it does the opposite of turning me on. It's like, blah, but it's still, you know what I mean? There's some part of me that's like, holy shitballs, girl, where'd you learn to do that? You stand in a mirror for like years and perfect that, or what is it? But I know, it's just like, if you're not repressed, you just feel it, and it just is natural, I guess. But no, man, I don't think it's my taste, dude. I just don't, I don't think anyone would. You're done for. People know that. people, I think this is pretty common knowledge in the world. Fiery Latinas, they say, and that's what they mean by that. And they also, I think they get really mad too. If, you know, they're just full of energy of all different types. Good night. Yeah, speaking of Latinas, she's like, all right, that's enough of that. Yeah, by the way, you guys, I am really trying hard to recoup a bunch of stolen money, so there are options, I think, in the chat. I don't know if it disappeared, I hope not. That you can support, you can find them in the description of most of my videos, and you can join my Patreon, crypto, whatever. But I have a few days to meet some really important deadlines, and it's a really large amount of money to try to recoup that quickly for me right now. So I really don't want to think about it, but am I ever going to visit the US? Probably. There's something I'm waiting for that is a sure thing that will allow me to go to a place like the US knowing that I'll still have the money to escape if I have to, because you guys go into civil war, some bullshit like that. But I almost did a few months ago, and I'm so glad I didn't. I mean, there's a lot of cool people there. When I say that I hate it so much, but it's true, man. Like, I don't really mind being in Cusco, when normally just going into a city in the US is like enough to make me just want to blow my head off. Like, it's just awful, just the feeling of it. I hate it. And here, I don't even mind. I'm even thinking maybe I'd be better off in Cusco than like out in the mountains. There's all this music everywhere and just constantly, you know, something to be happy about everywhere. All sorts of interesting things all the time. So it's just, there's some severe mental illness in the US, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I'm just kind of afraid that if I go there, the shit will hit the fan and I'll get trapped, you know, and I don't want that to happen. Also, like, you don't realize how smug Americans are until you get away from them for a while. And then even the nicer ones usually have that sort of American, like, smugness. I just don't like the energy of it. So, you know, like, I miss the California coast, and I would love to go pick some chanterelles and hedgehog mushrooms and, you know, go visit the town of Medicinal and sit on a hot tub on the cliffs overlooking the ocean again on acid. But the risk feels really high right now, especially with 2024 election year. Doesn't seem like a good place to be. If I was you guys, I would get out of there, you know. You know, with AI and everything nowadays, you really don't have any excuses. I mean, granted, you know, it's not like I'm doing so well that I can get robbed for $1,500 or whatever, $1,400, and then still be okay, you know. But there were also like splitting up with my partner to consider how much that cost, and all of the other, you know, disasters that had nothing to do with me but still cost me a lot of money this year. So if you factor in all that stuff and COVID and everything, I mean, it's still pretty remarkable for somebody that didn't even know how to use the internet when I got here. So my point really is that I'm pretty sure if I can do it, any or most of you guys can. You just have to figure out a niche and figure out how to constrain AI to give you a broad reach. And, you know, I mean, I think basically, unless you're really happy with your situation in the US, anyone can probably figure out how to be a digital nomad at this point, if you really try. I mean, and I don't understand why anyone would not devote all their energy to that, you know? So, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. The only thing that matters in life, you know, aside from love, but, you know, your sovereignty and your, you know, your freedom. That's it. That's all money is for. I've never understood people that pursue money just to have money. You know, they're just going after money, but then they don't do anything cool really, or I don't understand what it's for. Like, what do they want it for? What are they doing with it? You know, just like normie yuppies that they just want like more money just to have it. They're like mentally retarded. It's like the dumbest thing ever. The money is there to liberate yourself from the control of other people and the control of your time, you know? That's, I can't make any sense out of any other belief system. You know, but who am I to say, sitting here in a coffee shop with 100 soles in my wallet? It's crazy though, the assumptions people make too, you know? Like one of my like really close followers, you know, said, I can't believe you've been able to do this your whole life. You know, as if I had always struggled financially and stuff. I couldn't believe he said that. You know, because when Enrique and I met, I had a $50,000 BMW X5 and a $55,000 Yukon Denali. That was only 6 years ago, you know? I'm not trying to brag, but I've probably seen more cash at once, unless you guys have worked at banks or something, than anyone watching the stream will, the entire night probably, you know? I mean, it's just funny that he thought I'd always been like this for some reason. Like struggling intermittently. I mean, I haven't even been struggling the whole time we've been here, but it's been difficult to stay afloat, you know? We get afloat, you know, but it's like feast and famine kind of thing. I'm over that. So trying to get through this last crisis and then just completely destroy shit so that there's no chance that this is going to continue. I'm over it, you know. Like, I am definitely bound and determined that this is the last time I will ever let my guard down at all, which is sad. I don't want to be like that, but, and that, you know, once I do have even the smallest amount of like getting ahead, I'm going to use it to, you know, crypto and AI to make sure that I can get well ahead of the curve. That's all I'm going to be about for the next however long it takes, really. What's up, man? Abdullah. And it's not going to be hard. I know what to do. Definitely know what to do. I mean, it'll be hard to the extent that I'll have to stay focused, but I know what to do. And I'll take as many of you with me as I can as well. So some of you have made money off of my advice this year too. So in case, you know, there are people out there wondering why my community is so supportive, that's part of it, you know. I've made money for some of them and changed a lot of their lives, and, you know, it's a really rewarding thing to see too, like a luminostic life that just popped off. You know, watching her start a channel, and she's done a lot of things that I encouraged and inspired, and she's following through with all of it, you know. And there are a number of people that I'm watching, you know, like change their lives for the better. That's a crazy thing to see. Actual measurable, you know, impact positively on people. It's great. And then, okay, so Mr. Charles, some people might be wondering what exactly happened there, because he came to a retreat. There was only 2 people, because I don't do big groups. I think it's fucked up. And, you know, if it's not just that if people have a condition or some psychological problem, if you don't fit my demographic, I'll probably turn you down, because I want it to be groups of people that really like each other, you know? The whole thing of having ayahuasca ceremonies with strangers is kind of insane, because it really does open you up, and it's just, you know, having 100 people there that are all strangers, it's so unnatural, you know? It's supposed to be a tribe, and usually only the shaman would drink and then work on the people. So, you know, it's just so unethical to have large groups of strangers. It's the whole commercial ayahuasca industry is basically immoral, the whole entire thing. I don't care if they're even run by good people that have their heads on straight. It's not right to have large groups. No matter how many attendants you have, they're all frauds. Every single one of those large retreat centers are all criminally unethical, spiritually unethical as well. And, you know, in my opinion, the fact that so many people, after going to those, they don't get better. They think they got better. And so that's what they post in their reviews, and they, you know, and what actually happened is they became extremely superstitious and completely infested with woo, you know, new agey nonsense and superstition and stuff. It's not good, really. So anyways, he came with this one other guy, and he stopped talking to us about, I think, 8 months after, both of us all of a sudden. And I knew something was wrong, and I was very disappointed in myself that I knew he needed to be kept longer, you know, but I think it was actually ego, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, that I didn't want to be seen like I was trying to milk them for money, so I didn't say anything, which is completely wrong. In retrospect, you know, he needed to be out of his environment for much longer. You're back. I thought you left. You said goodnight, dude. Man, 141 minutes. Jesus Christ, really? This is kind of a nice environment, though. I hope I'm not getting on her nerves too much. But so, you know, he stopped talking to us, and about 4 months after that, I got a message from his dad that he had killed himself, shot himself in the head. And so the thing is, what actually happened is that I gave him a combination of ahosacha, which the indigenous say gets rid of epilepsy. It did. He didn't have another seizure until he relapsed on methamphetamine, and he stopped talking to us because he had a seizure as soon as he relapsed. And he was so embarrassed that rather than reach out for support, he just stopped talking to us, the only people that probably could have helped him. And another thing he didn't do is that he didn't follow through. I told him, you know, ahosacha is not psychoactive. You can continue to take it for support when you get home. He didn't do that. Just for those of you that are wondering, that's what his mom told me, that he actually did remain seizure-free when he went home for like 8 months. And to put that in perspective, when he first got to Ecuador, he had 2 seizures while still on his pharmaceutical medication within 24 hours. And then when he stopped, the side effect is supposed to be a sharp increase in seizures, but because I gave him ahosacha, they stopped the minute he stepped foot on the property. They didn't come back the entire month he was there, and according to his parents, he stayed seizure-free for 6 or 8 months until he relapsed on meth, and then they came back. And I told him, if you do this one more time, you'll instantly be epileptic again. Sure enough, took a hit of meth, flopping around on the floor again, you know. So, terribly sad situation. But just, you know, people have been asking me the details, and that's the full story. So, of course, you know, one person cured of epilepsy does not establish that it's a cure. But, I mean, it's pretty crazy that these plants stopped it when he was having so many seizures he was here for a month. So I didn't really count. I think they left June, July, August, September. Yeah, so like 7 or 8 months seizure-free, even after having stopped taking his seizure medication cold turkey, which is supposed to cause a sharp intake or increase in seizures. So, yeah, but that was terrible news, man. Mr. Charles had been a avid supporter since the beginning. He was one of my first subscribers, I think. And, you know, I mean, he told his parents, his dad was here for part of the time, and, you know, he was really miserable because he couldn't have a job. He couldn't couldn't drive. They won't give him a license. Obviously, they couldn't, you know. But if he had stayed seizure-free, I think it's a year, then he could have, I think, gotten a license. And he almost made it, you know. That's the part that's hard for me. I don't understand why, if the major obstacle we had removed from his life, why did he go back to the meth and stuff? But I know how addicts think, and he thought, well, you know, it's been 9 months. It's gone. I can smoke meth again. No, dude. No, you cannot. So, you know, he was a great guy and a great friend, and it's infinitely rewarding that he told everyone that it was the happiest month of his life, and you know, there's videos of him climbing up to harvest ayahuasca with us and stuff, and something he never could have done without the support from those plants. You know, he climbed 20 foot up an ayahuasca vine to cut it up higher so we waste less, you know, and he was just super strong. So, you know, and it was crazy to watch. It was driving his dad nuts. But I think he knew that the medicine had worked. And he was going over to the edge of cliffs, you know, and like just doing all kinds of stuff because for the first time in his life, he knew that he wasn't going to have a seizure and fall off the cliff or something. So, you know, it just goes to show the power of drugs and addiction, especially meth. They say that 1% of people manage to recover from methamphetamine. 85% if they use psilocybin or other psychedelics. But yeah, it lasted less than a year. And then, well, he did not follow doctor's orders entirely. Also, he was supposed to take psilocybin microdoses consistently to support everything. He didn't do that either. So, gotta listen to your facilitator, man, you know? And stop lying to us too, man. There's been quite a number of people that when they do their intake with me, they lie about stuff. And then I get blindsided by some crazy shit, you know? That's happened a few times. Don't do that. We're here to help. You know, you gotta tell the truth or else it causes problems for everyone. So, don't hide your addictions. Don't lie about porn problems. Don't lie about being molested as a child. I know it's hard to talk about openly, but you gotta tell the truth. It's really good chicken soup. All right, guys. Questions, comments. I'm running out of just random babblings. Oh, that's the same. Yeah, I haven't seen many questions in a while. It's weird to see my ex commenting and showing up in the chats because she never did that when we were together. And it used to actually kind of hurt me that she didn't seem to have any interest in like my work, you know. But now that we've split up, I see her in the chat all the time and in the comments of videos and stuff. Absence makes the heart grow fonder or something. I don't know. All right, guys, the numbers are dropping. Hopefully I get back and open up all my PayPal and stuff and discover that some philanthropist billionaire has bailed me out this one last time. Hold on, I gotta. Okay, so questions, comments, suggestions. Otherwise, I'm gonna shut down shop and go back home, try to edit a video or do something productive. Going once, going twice, thrice. Okay, well, thank you guys in that case so much for spending this time with me. Thank you so much those who have supported, and anyone else that is going to contribute to the Robbery Relief Fund, the Immigration Status Salvation Fund. Thank you in advance, and don't forget to hit the like button, share the videos, and consider joining the Patreon. And hopefully I will be doing my first stream with a functional electric guitar in a year, either Monday or Tuesday. So something at least for me to look forward to. Have a great night, you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.